Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Outlaw Dive podcast. I am your host, as always, Sir Delta. With us, we have two returning guests.
Yeah.
Fuck was that? What was that, you bastard?
You little rant.
Yeah, introduce yourself, goddammit.
Well, everyone knows me as Clay here, or Clay, whichever one you want to call you bastards.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Unstable Reactor, and it's a pleasure to be here.
It's always a fucking joy to have you here. Oh, you are just... Spark of Chaos is apt for you. That's all I could say, really.
Yep.
I'd like to think I'm chaotic good, but I think people would debate that.
That is entirely debatable.
Debatable within your debates. Anyway.
So, right now, I'm just gonna get podcast started with Dive News. Nothing right now.
Oh.
Currently, no updates. Or at least nothing concrete that I can give anyone.
Yeah, because you gotta tell them.
So, with news out of the way, good Sir Reactor, you had some things for us today, didn't you?
Absolutely. So, one of the things I felt like bringing on here was I recently received some questions in a separate Q&A on a different platform about some recent developments as far as media goes with comics and animated series, particularly where the divide between manga, anime, and comics and animated series is concerned. So essentially, Eastern production versus Western production, and specifically North American versus Japanese series and the way that they're released, marketed, and produced.
Oh,
so recently, yeah, there's been a bit of a kick recently where we've seen a bunch of series, like Netflix markets like some Western animated series as anime, like it has a Netflix anime, presented logo at the start. And just recently, Cartoon Network now has a branch that's sort of spun off from Toonami that seems to be focused towards developing Western anime, American anime content. And there's certain comic book series that are now being marketed as manga killers, that they're going to compete and they're going to go toe-to-toe with the sort of perceived dominance right now that manga seems to have on the international stage of production and sales, with some titles like Demon Slayer just absolutely dominating the meta right now.
Why the hell is there like a new thing branching off of Toonami when didn't Toonami help produce a bunch of anime? Like, I know Big O.
Yeah.
That was them.
Toonami.
I think they had a hand in Space Dandy too.
Yeah, Toonami.
I cannot confirm that.
Simulcasting and the production and releasing of it.
Toonami helped a lot with kids and teenagers being exposed to anime. Also, a little bit Adult Swim, but that was more for adults than it was kids and teenagers.
No. Clay. What I'm getting at is Toonami assisted in the actual production of the shows, not just like distribution because it was airing them. No. They spent money on shows like Big O, and there was season 2 and 3 of Fooly Cooly.
Oh.
Yeah, they threw money down for those. Which is why I find it weird that...
It's interesting. The thing that's interesting to me, at least, with that particular dynamic, is it's kind of felt like, in terms of the way things have been localized over the last couple of years, there's a certain sense of authority and ownership on production that some companies seem to feel they have when series are localized here. Anyway, like there was some controversy that's come up from Funimation and the way they've chosen to sub and dub certain things. There's a controversy that's come from the way Crunchyroll has attempted to do those things. And even going way back to the 90s, where certain dubs would like radically alter things in like even in the 80s too, right? Where they would just like have a completely different title, kind of like do a hack job of different scenes and stuff, and put the series together. Like one of the ones that comes to mind for me was Ronin Warriors from around the 90s there, and that was dubbed in Ocean Studios up here in Vancouver. And I know a bunch of the people that worked on it, and they're all really great, and they all have positive things to say about the experience. But like at the time, that was kind of the accepted practice, was like really going through and editing a lot of the stuff to appeal to a more westernized audience. This is where you get like your Pokemon scenes with Brock and the jelly-filled donuts instead of, the onigiri, right? Like they
I'm gonna
that
turn
in
this frying
localization.
pan into a drying pan.
See,
I'm going to turn this frying pan into a
that kind of
drying
stuff-
pan. No, Nurse Joy,
Yeah.
please don't take out a harassment suit. I promise I won't follow
that
you
kind
home.
of stuff is like that kind of stuff was like great, and then then you had fucking 4Kids that was like, oh, I fucking hate Japan and anime and all that. Let's just ruin it for everybody, and because like the president apparently was a fucking dickhead.
There is nothing that cements that more than 4Kids having all of their like animated characters sing the United States national anthem every 4th of July when they were running.
I was going to say, one of the
remember
things that stood out
God.
to me anyway, was like, when you bring up 4Kids, I remember a lot of the dubs having like cringier moments and stuff. Like even at the time when I was a kid watching some of them, I was like, kind of looking back to see what my parents' impression of it was, because I was like, oh, this is corny for me. I
remember.
I imagine they have a bit of secondhand embarrassment watching me watching this.
The one moment I had was like I was watching Ultimate Muscle, the first episode, and wow, I was. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember Ultimate Muscle. It's a decent cartoon, at least. A little annoying in some regards, but still pretty good. But I think, like, the one...
I've heard of it, can't say I've ever actually seen it, though.
Yeah, what was it?
Is that the dub of Kaneko Man?
Basically, the sequel to Kaneko Man with his son, Kid Muscle. But, what was it? So, anyways, it was like Kid Muscle was trying to escape Muscle Planet, go another ship, whatever. And, like, he's surrounded, and then... my parents were actually curious, like, okay, so what's he gonna do? And then they didn't watch the intro, so they didn't know what he was gonna do. I knew what was gonna happen, and I kind of was gonna cringe because I knew they were gonna cringe. So he does the whole thing where he fucking farts, and then he flies up in the air, and they get absolutely disgusted and be like, oh my fucking god, son, why do you watch this? It was just like, thank God my brother wasn't there, and then it was like though he came down like an hour later, and then they literally just had the face of, I can't believe we just watched this with our son. I can't believe they do garbage like this.
I think the one show that 4Kids had...
one of the...
What? Who were the what?
Oh, sorry. You continue.
Yeah, it was... I think the one show that 4Kids had on that they could not fuck up was Kirby.
Honestly, I keep debating whether I like that theme song with the whole like Kirby.
I fucking love it.
It's not that it's bad. It's just like, I don't know. It's kind of annoying, but it's also kind of catchy. Like kind of like One Piece's thing.
But
the
One
Piece
one,
I didn't expect them to actually make that shit catchy at all.
Oh, it's right, the One Piece rap.
Yeah. Yo, gotta go.
Treatment!
Don't give it up, no
ruined the One Piece intros for me for a while.
But yeah, as far as like with the Kirby theme song, like, you listen to what 4Kids did, and you listen to what the original did, and it's like this kind of like slow but upbeat marching song. Whereas with 4Kids, nah, man, it's just going hard the minute it starts.
Yeah. It's, some of their, surprisingly 4Kids, like, yeah, we gotta make some of these openings, like, hard as balls. Especially, I think, like, I was like, holy shit, when I, what was it? I was listening to, Yu-Gi-Oh's theme. I didn't think it was gonna go that hard. I was like, okay, it's a kid playing card games. It's not gonna be that hard. And I'm like, holy shit. It's like, Yu-Gi-Oh's gotta, like, it's got time to duel, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Yu-Gi-Oh was fucking great. I remember fucking being younger watching that. Was it great?
And then, what was it? And then, it's funny, too, as a kid, I was so obsessed with watching that and also watching, like, episode by episode, the parody series, like, the abridged series, and I was like, hey, both of them are pretty good, I like this.
Oh yeah, Little Karibo's Yu-Gi-Oh! The
Yeah.
Abridged series. That one's pretty lit.
Yeah, he did a really good
I mean,
freeze.
some of it's aged better than other parts, but like the stuff that isn't like specifically kind of time-specific media references, I think has endured pretty decently. So a lot of abridged series have that issue. Like all respect to the Dragon Ball Z abridged team with Team 4-Star. I know some of the members of them. They've been really wonderful. There's certain references in the early ones that you look at and go, oh wow, that really was 2009.
Yeah. Also, like,
I remember one from like around like first 5 episodes. There, I believe it was a Harvey Birdman reference.
Yeah, and then it was, I'm trying to think of a really good reference I remember. Geez, this was a while ago.
Well, you think that, fucking... Well, we got off...
Oh, the wrong foot.
I'm not sure if we got off topic or we're just on a weird
we talked. We talked
now.
about obviously the anime stuff. I like. We still got the questions we got from. I love this guy's name, Anonymous Anon.
Yeah, no. But I mean, like, with the thing of like the manga killer, because I fucking started with like, it's weird that Toonami makes its own thing. And then that spiraled off into 4 Kids.
Yeah, spiraled off into 4 Kids, and then talk about a bridge series and all that. I just like, if it's in my personal experience about manga killers and all that, I'm like, look, again, people know me that I'm a content creator. I do comics. If it was up to me, I'd ignore that stuff. You put in as many titles as you want, but if your product sucks, then I'm not gonna give a shit. I don't even give a shit about, like, whatever you call it. Just make the damn thing, man. I'm so sick of these, like, killer stuff. Just do it. You don't put a title in, I'll care. If you keep putting a title in like that, I'm not gonna care.
I think it has a very WWE.
I know, right?
game
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
vibe to me, you know.
Like,
I'm just surprised
Like,
I
it feels
haven't
like
heard of this
it's-
concept before somehow. Like, the closest I've gotten was fucking Halo killer or COD killer, like 2 decades ago or something like that.
It's
you
like,
know?
Well, that's exactly it, right? Is it's like there's something that's big and successful and makes a lot of money and kind of defines the meta, and then everything tries to be that for a while. Like, people can talk all the smack they like about Michael Bay and like the practices on the film sets and actor experiences notwithstanding. That's another issue entirely. The fact remains that Michael Bay's films with the Transformers movies and The Island and, like, you know, some of the other films he was doing around that time set a precedent that a lot of people followed in terms of what a successful action blockbuster with a ton of CGI was going to be like following 2007. And I'd also say that was kind of the beginning of the franchise movie thing, you know? Like, Iron Man comes out just the year following, and then we get the
that's
MCU
right, it
stuff
did.
going on, whereas before, you know, a lot of superhero movies had been one-offs or sort of disconnected. Like, funnily enough, the closest we got was the Daredevil movies and Elektra.
yeah,
I remember seeing that Daredevil
movie.
movie. Oh no, that's it. I just had the one thing to say. Now I'm done.
Yeah, I was like, even though I'm like, again, I was born in '96, so like I'm still like young to all this. But back then, they were trying to do their own kind of MCU back in the '70s, '80s. First they did Hulk, then they introduced Thor, and then they introduced Daredevil, and then it looked like they were trying to do their own Defenders team with that. But then then they kind of moved on, and we had to like wait a while before we got another Marvel movie. If everyone remembers the '70s Incredible Hulk with Lou Ferrigno, that's what I'm referring to.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah,
lit. I
people
loved
people
that.
like
And the original
yeah,
Wonder
people
Woman
really
show.
like it's kind of cool because that version of Hulk, like, he had his kind of limitations. It's funny because he could get shot and hurt. He couldn't really hurt people because if he punched them, they literally said they would cave in their chest and they just die. So he had to hold back a lot, just throw people around, like ragdoll their shit, you know. But it's still though, it was still very very good, especially. I think season 2 was my favorite in the Incredible Hulk series.
I think the closest I saw to something like that would be like the 90s Fox Spider-Man cartoon. Because that had like a bunch of other characters tying into it that I'm pretty sure some of them had their own shows around that same time too.
Yeah, there was the 90s Marvel, there was the X-Men, and there was Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk. The closest we got to a lot of crossover stuff was probably with the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man had
I remember.
Yeah.
You know, I do remember there were a number of times where Spider-Man would have like the Daredevil show up, or there was that time near the end of the series where they're all on an alien planet,
Secret Wars,
and they gotta get Spider-Man to some place in like 10 hours or something. I vaguely remember that because I watched it when it was airing on TV. So
I actually watched the finale
long ass time ago.
It was like it blew my mind realizing that, though, like, it was much different than in Secret Wars because in this one, obviously, it was Spider-Man shows. They had to give Spider-Man the main kind of leader-esque role, but they did it in a way that Spider-Man wasn't really like. Because most of the time when you do that kind of thing, you're just trying to make all the other characters look like shit. But in this case, Spider-Man and everyone else was fine. But I was surprised that they were trying to, like, in this case, without going the Avengers route, they kind of, again, they implemented Secret Wars. I'm like, holy shit, you know. And Secret Wars is important because remember that Spider-Man got the black suit from that first, but then they kind of like remade that, so now like most of the time he doesn't get his black suit from what happened with Secret Wars. It happens mainly because like it hatches onto like, you know, basically a NASA ship and then, you know, goes into Earth. That's usually how Spidey gets his black suit in most media now.
Yeah. I think like normally it's actually fucking JJ's son goes into space.
Yeah.
Comes back down.
John, yeah.
And it's on him.
Yeah. Sometimes like it's either, and in the Ultimate series it was actually like a man-made suit, so that was like kind of interesting in that one.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is a neat idea.
It was basically a medical suit to cure cancer. That's how the suit originally was supposed to, like, you know, fit for people, you know?
Alright. I could see how that would work. I could see that, yeah.
I think it's interesting, too, because a lot of people, like, and I'd say somewhat rightfully, have a lot of nostalgia for like the 90s, early 2000s sorts of like DC and Marvel endeavors in terms of stuff there.
No.
What's interesting is that it kind of comes full circle in a way too, because like the early 2000s Marvel and DC stuff in a lot of ways had some major anime influences, like, oh my god, the Teen Titans show from the early 2000s.
Oh yeah, and look at Static Shock too.
In there.
Yeah, and again, I think
absolutely.
we already discussed this before, but with Static Shock and some other shows we just talked about, again, they weren't afraid to be like, look, where it's a bit of an IRL show, there's some real life elements in it, we won't be afraid to show real stuff and consequences that happen, like with drugs and with kids bringing guns to school, that kind of stuff. And like Jimmy, everyone knows Jimmy.
I'm really glad that fucking Static Shock did that.
Yeah.
Because I remember being a kid, and honestly, that was like some of the first things of those issues being introduced to me was through Static Shock. Like the fucking Martin Luther episode where they time travel back, and Virgil just has to deal with that during the civil rights era with,
hold on.
his friend.
I think, more, like I was gonna say, is like, I know you're talking about Static Shock, but I think, like, that's a completely different movie. Static Shock did not mean Martin Luther King Jr. or whatever.
Maybe, I don't, okay.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Right,
I know what you're talking about.
He went back in time.
Yeah,
there was a scene on the train that the conductor's like, hey there, kid, you want to move up to the front? And he's like, nah, I'm going to be here with my friend. And he's like, all right.
Yeah. It was kind of like one of, in hindsight, I watched that movie in 3rd grade, and then, like, I think, like, in hindsight, we didn't actually curse, but me and my friends were kind of discussing how fucked up it was that this kid time traveled, and he had to watch his friend Martin die, you know. They even showed the whole thing. Obviously, they didn't show him getting killed, but he was in that fucking hotel area, and then, like, we knew what was going to happen next. And again, he had to see all that, but it's like, at the same time, it's like Martin knew that, like, it's some Doctor Who thing. It's like, you have to go with the balance of time, otherwise time is going to get fucked up, you know? And I was like, fuck, though.
Oh, God, I remember
Yeah, because he had to see all that, and he has to remember all that.
Yeah. Man, that was a wild movie.
Yeah, I know, it was. It was fun, but then the end was just like, yeah, let's just make you depressed as fuck. Even though, like, you know, and it's funny, though, it's like, and it's funny, too, I think my brother showed me the Boondocks episode of Martin Luther King Jr., and then I went from being sad to really laughing my ass off, because, like, if you guys ever saw that one, I was like, oh, this is the sequel.
No, I've seen that episode.
This is the sequel. Martin has to see what happened.
I fucking love that show.
But anyways, let's see. I guess we could move on to a different topic, or we could go with the questions.
Yeah, I was just thinking we could go into questions since we're about, 20 minutes in now.
Yeah, 22 minutes. 22 minutes from my recording time.
And this... so, let's see. So we got some questions submitted to us this week. Not over the thing that we said to do it over. That being, hey, you can send us some questions at outlawdive@gmail.com. But it was instead over the Discord server. So we could just go into those.
I'm just glad we got questions at all.
I'm glad we have them at all too.
We don't mean to be asses, honestly, but usually we don't get any questions, so we're happy we finally got some.
It's interaction with the community at the podcast.
Okay.
Finally! Yeah. Granted, it's only the 5th podcast.
Yeah, it's only the 5th podcast, so we still got a lot more to go.
We do. So let's see. Number 1. What are some TV shows you would recommend to newcomers, those interested in making things for the Outlaw Dive and in general?
Okay,
well, that's kind of two separate questions. Because the Outlaw Dive is different from in general.
Yeah, because Outlaw Dive,
I'd say
Outlaw Dive is a completely different thing compared to, like, in general kind of question, you know?
And it's also a case of, like, it depends on what kind of work you are creating.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, the point of Outlaw Dive is to accommodate content that doesn't find a home on platforms that are being cautious and conscientious about content and media and just sort of what appeals on, like, a sheer monetary level of stuff. So there's certain metas that are really successful right now. So, like, massive support for, like, BL and kind of boys love sorts of stories in the manhwa categories of stuff. Massive support for romance, regardless of if it's het / etc. And that's, there's definitely ways to do that in a hot-blooded way. I don't think we'd be opposed to series that did have a large romance.
Oh yeah, there's no issues with that here. I believe we have a romance catalog for the Discord server in the first place. So yeah, no, that's entirely fine.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
But it's
we got a whole bunch of catalog areas. Thriller, action, mystery, sci-fi, fantasy, pulp, and mecha. And romance too, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, as far as like, so, just like a quick thing in general, it's what do you want to make? You need to go out and find media that is similar to what you want to make.
Yeah.
Like, let's say.
And I would say. I was gonna say once you find that media, don't necessarily just try to emulate exactly what it does to achieve that effect. Like, find that gut feeling that makes it enjoyable and that vibe that you think is cool
like
about it, and see how you can capture that.
What I think could be a good way to help with that is, well, firstly, go out, watch or read a large portion of media of that genre. Like, let's say you want to make fucking a bunch of goddamn noir stories or something.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stories out there of that genre.
Yeah, like Casablanca.
Go out.
Casablanca's pretty. I think it's like.
Go read, watch a bunch of them. Take like.
The dame strode into the detective office. She had legs like alabaster candlesticks and a hat that complemented her face like the top of some great sort of cake decoration. Her black ebony hair swept in the breeze as she came in from the rain-stormy nights.
Make sure you get his double chin thing. What was it? What's he got, a double chin thing?
But yes, just go.
Chin thing, you piece of shit! I'll kill you.
Go watch a bunch of stuff about that genre and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because being knowing what makes that genre work is going to help you exponentially in the long run.
Don't be afraid to look up a top 5 or top 10 list that can easily help you out. Scope out, okay, this works,
for sure.
This works, that kind of stuff,
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. I would also say, though, depending on the genre you're doing, particularly if it's something that a lot of people are inspired by, look into some of the more obscure areas of that, too, right? Because there's a large influx of JoJo-esque, a large influx of, within our community, I would highlight, like, basically, you can basically point, to just about anybody and be like, that person has played Guilty Gear. That person has read JoJo,
That person has read
as much
Berserk.
As, like, yeah,
and, like, Berserk's also a giant reference thing.
Yeah.
It is, but, like, I would say, in the same way as JoJo is very referential, being referential to a referential thing just kind of makes it seem like, to the audience, you're familiar with that. Whereas it's important to put in enough of your own creative ideas and essence into a work for it to stand on its own that, like, for example, like, I would say that a movie that I saw recently that I really enjoyed was going back and rewatching Mad Max Fury Road again, which is referential to Mad Max, of course, but it's also referential to a lot of other things within the car chase genre and sort of like action series that had a heavy kinetic sort of component with practical effects from the 70s and 80s. So there's shots in there that you can see of like references to Bullet, references to, like sort of that Dirty Harry era, sort of like, on the outskirts of the law sort of thematics there. And furthermore, you can just go further and further down the line. You can look at sequential works that inspired those and what spun off from there. Like, I'm not saying don't ever take influence or inspiration from stuff, because almost everything has some level of derivative nature to it.
Like we discussed before, or it's like saying before, look again, it's like, fuck anyone that says that, oh, you ripped this off. I'm like, we basically, not rip off, inspired by. Like, we know the difference between a really, really bad ripoff and then, oh, it got inspired, but it's still very much original product. So usually they're just jealous motherfuckers that don't, like, make their own shit. That's why they keep saying that.
It might be a bit of a fucked up thing to like, quote or say, but it's a known saying of nothing is original anymore.
Yeah,
For
I
some
mean,
people,
that's not
that
bad
is
in
soul
my
crushing.
opinion. That's not
For
bad
others,
in my opinion. It's
that
just
can
like,
be
you know.
liberating in that it's like, well, I'm not the first guy to have this idea, but damn if I'm not gonna make it a good use of this idea.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's
I'd also say, like, people define original in a really weird way, at least from my standpoint.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
People seem to think original means, like, that it's, like, oh yeah, completely untouched by the effects of any work
by somebody
created in the
else,
history of
yeah.
mankind, you know?
That's
And
never
I think
going to
that,
be a
honestly,
thing.
The way I've always defined original has been very squarely rooted in the idea of that it's a work that you have created yourself, you wrote or you illustrated or you did the work for from the ground up, and you didn't trace somebody else's stuff, you didn't go in and, plagiarize, elements of the script from somewhere else, you didn't go in and, you know what I mean? Like, you're not a repost account on Instagram with several thousand followers that's able to keep up their content rate by just stealing art from other accounts and posting it unsourced or just with credit to the artist. Here's my little aside here. If you're a person who posts things on Pinterest uncredited, or if you run a repost account on Twitter or Instagram, if I had to pick one group to wipe off the face of the earth, you are it. So stop.
Oh, all right. Well, if anyone had the, yeah, I'm not sure how that joke's gonna go. Never mind that one. Damn, reactor. All right.
All I'm saying is, if people are parasites that contribute absolutely nothing to a genre but taking attention and money out of other people's pockets, I think that they should be punished accordingly. Because there's a difference between, like, sharing and promoting, which I would highly encourage, where it's like, yeah, absolutely reshare, absolutely signal boost, absolutely link to other people's work. But the difference in that scenario is that you are actually, like, drawing attention to the work that other people are doing versus, like, the folks who QRT something with a, like, a mildly witty pun or, like, a 2-word observation, and then it does numbers for their metrics and not the person that they were actually promoting. Like, that kind of stuff, right? Where it's, like, people who are coasting off of other people's work and other people's, endeavors and creativity rather than putting the work in to develop a brand or an identity of their own. And I would be lying if I said that I don't feel a pretty extreme level of enmity towards that, because there's such a little barrier, like such a gap between being really shitty about that and being like a great asset to the art community. Being a great asset to the community by just promoting people who have smaller audiences' work to the group of followers you're cultivating. And being someone who's kind of like a tastemaker person in the community that's like, yeah, these are the things that I like. I think you'll like them too. Check them out. Like, it's really not that hard to close the gap and go from being kind of crappy to being a really cool contributor in that department. But people just aren't bothered enough to, do a reverse image search and figure out where the art came from, or, source the account that they literally saw and clipped the thing from and put up again without credit.
It's also important for, like, writer creators who just write their scripts and concept everything, because, like, especially if you're on Twitter or something, if you don't credit it, 9 times out of 10, people are gonna think you're the artist, and then if, like, and to be honest, yeah, you should do it as soon as possible, because their moods will drop from 100 to 0 if they say, like, oh yeah, I'm not the artist, because, like, then it's kind of almost like I can't really trust this guy no more, because, like, oh yeah, sure, their art is great, but you should have credited them, because then at least I could trust you to make your thing, and then like go to them. But again, it's the trust level.
Yeah, like, there was some controversy about Merriweather, like, I think a couple years ago, where it wasn't even that Merriweather had been, giving people the impression that they were the artist, but people had, like, made that conclusion on their own. So when Merriweather, was crediting Princess Hing-Hoi, Beta's Inferno, other artists that have worked with them recently on their comics and stuff, people were like, what? You're not the artist? And it's like, well, no, Merriweather's the writer.
It reminds me, too, of Almost Horror.
Yeah, he just pays all those artists to do the thing.
Yeah, it's like that horror story I almost got, where, like, some guy tried to do an art share with me, and I had to stop that shit immediately, saying, "Look, man, I'm not an artist. Please, I don't want to get you mad at me or whatever because I don't do art." So again, like I just stopped that so he wouldn't get mad at me over that, because he saw the artwork for my comics and he got so super impressed by it. He's like, "Oh, let's do an art share," and I'm like, "No, I can't. Sorry." I even have it on my profile that I don't draw. I don't. Well, not anymore, but I used to. But you know what I mean.
And I think that it's good that you're aware of it and that that was your first instinct.
Oh God, yeah.
Because
I know
the
what you mean.
difference there is there's people who wouldn't have had that impulse to correct the person.
They'd be
you know?
Oh God, I hate to say it. They'd be like the DSP or Wings of Redemption, where it's like, "Oh, it's not my fault," or it's like, "No, I'll let it keep going until it's an actual issue." It's like, no, I'm not like that. No.
Oh, Jesus.
Where's my chili?
Oh.
Get my Wendy's
It's crazy
chili.
to hear about Darkside Phil and Wings in this day and age, honestly.
I only talk about that real quick because it reminds me that Deputy, for some reason, wants to voice as DSP. And everyone kept, and I at least had a few responses like, you gotta do a Wings of Redemption impression. I'm like, all right, yeah, he's Southern, so what? I can't just.
And if he needs the Lightbringer,
that one he has to do. He has to do Linkara. Yeah, I was like, I just can't do it. I can't take this shit.
Damn it.
I just can't take this shit no more, man.
I'm going to combo you by throwing my fedora.
Take this shit no more,
Oh
man.
no, the double projectile combo! Fedora throw, then gun!
Yep. Was that I know all the other Nostalgia Critic crew and the Angry Video Game Nerd crew kind of had that big fight. Did Kara actually for his moveset it was a fucking gun he had?
I think it Blunderpuss was
it was.
But I'm also not for me, honestly, so much Nostalgia Critic stuff for me was just the standard Nostalgia Critic videos. I didn't really watch the surrounding material besides Angry Joe and AVGN, and so with recent Oni Plays videos, it's really weird going back and seeing this stuff that I just kind of missed when that stuff was current. Because they reference it all the time, and it's really funny. They are arguably funnier than the original material, honestly, because there's a level of irony.
Speaking of, what is it? Speaking of the weird comparison, and this is more to myself, but I retweeted, or no, I did a quote tweet of this post of Eagle Raptor when he was Finn back in 2008, and he was animating, I think for one of his sequelitis videos, and I think I said, I hope to God I never become what he is currently. And then people were like, look, man, as long as your, no pun intended, as long as your ego doesn't go in with the Ego Raptor, you'll be fine. And I said, yeah.
It's interesting, too, because, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this, but, you look at the game Grumps, and, as much as I enjoy Aaron Hansen's content, and, I'm a card nerd, I like the Magic the Gathering stuff he's been doing and stuff like that, it's kind of silly, the idea that, he's doing Game Grumps and doesn't have the ability to still be pursuing the animating.
No, I said that. I made an
his
answer to that, and like I said, it's money. He's making more money off of doing Game Grumps, and he doesn't want to basically this, and to be honest, my honest opinion, it's because it's easy work. Animating to him now is probably hard work, and he doesn't want to do it anymore. He could draw. I'm pretty sure he could still draw, but I know he's not going to animate anymore because again, he just plays video games.
Oh, for sure.
Makes money off it. It's he doesn't need to animate, so why not?
I'm pretty sure he's also doing voice acting now. He's been in a number of things. It's kind of
he was in Rick and Morty.
Yeah, he did voice
that
acting
was
and stuff, and then he got all mad because he didn't get in some parts.
I was gonna say though, one of the things that I was about to say though that I was commenting on is that it seems a little ridiculous if the argument is that there's not the time to do it, because you look at Danny and like he's still doing NSP, he's still making music for all of their different endeavors like Starbomb stuff.
He's still doing what he loves and like also doing game grumps. I think like between Danny and Aaron, it's not a money issue. It's like more of a passion issue. Is like, does Aaron have the passion anymore? And I would say, heck no, he doesn't. He just wants to play easy ball and just do game grumps, and that's it, for money and all that.
And I'm gonna be real, like, I don't dislike either of them. In fact, like, I still really enjoy watching game grumps.
I think between my scale of them, from like with the game grumps, at least like the main three, John, Danny, and Aaron. I love John. I can at least tolerate Danny. I felt kind of bad for him though after that controversy he had apparently about with those younger women, which I was like, it wasn't such a big deal, but some idiots were overblowing it, and to me it's like, with Aaron it's like, I don't like him anymore personally.
I think that like I don't want to dwell on the controversy thing too much with that bit, but like I think it's interesting though the way the controversy was blown up about that, because in so many ways, like, the Game Grumps and their fandom kind of became synonymous with, like, unsolicited fan arts of, like, them, like, the two of them. Like, there's a lot of fan art of Aaron and Danny that's, like, slasher kind of stuff. And more power to people to express whatever they want with art. That's the reason we're here and stuff. I will say that for me personally, and I think this isn't an uncommon stance, when you're illustrating real people, it's important to take into consideration, that person's life and what they've got going on, and like, are you portraying them in a way counter to the way that they actually behave, right? Because like, there's been a really big push by a lot of the same sort of audience of people where it's like, don't depict, characters outside of their identity, right? Like, if a character is bisexual, don't suddenly make them not bisexual anymore in, like, a fan work. And I can definitely respect that, because I think there's, like, some creative integrity that comes with respecting creators' wishes there. I would say the same token applies to rendering art and fan content of real people, So, like, when it comes to people like Aaron and Danny, depicting both of them as, like, lovers in compromising situations. Yeah, it went as early, kind of over the line for me in terms of respect, as early as
it, speaking of, again, like I said, it went in as early as they did exactly that, but with Aaron and John. So that was like, oh boy, And then it was also...
Yeah, that kind of stuff with real life people.
I know. And then there was like and then the same thing happened, unfortunately, with Jaden Animations, like... but then, like, the idiots were trying to be like, oh, it's her animated Sona, we can still do it. I'm like, no, just because she's animated, it's still her. Like, you guys are being fucking assholes, If guys know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I'll put it this way. I think that, like, that falls into the same category for me. Like, if someone comes to me with a commission and they're like, yeah, so I want you to draw this person, I'm like, did this person say it was okay for you to request someone to draw them like this?
And actually, from what I heard, she said no, they're not allowed to do that, but they're like, again, they're doing the whole spiel that, oh, we're not going to listen to you because it's your animated Sona, so it's technically not you. And I'd be like, no, it is her. It's just her in animated form. It's like, I don't know. It's some stupidity,
It's the closest.
Yeah, well, it's like, I understand that some people feel like there's a basis for parody, like there is with political cartoons and stuff, And I understand that level of free speech and expression with public figures.
It's the other things.
It's this specific stuff where it's like illicit and kind of like, characterizing someone as, it's like misrepresenting them in a way that I think goes outside of the realm of like parody.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
What is interesting though is like recently there's been like a couple of series, right, that almost feel like they're parodies of themselves. Like there's a couple of remakes of different series and stuff that like kind of feel like they're more satirical takes on the original thing, like kind of a tongue-in-cheek version of it. And like there's that new Powerpuff Girls that's going to be live action or whatever, right? And, like,
God.
Did they confirm if that leaked script was real or not?
And apparently they were like, oh no, it wasn't the real script, we're going to change it. And I'm like, it was the real script. You just got caught with how bad it was, and now you're actually going to change it to make it quote-unquote better, but you're probably not, you know?
Oh, of course, because
like I don't mind the casting. I don't mind that they're doing live action. It's their money. They're allowed to produce whatever they want. But like, the thing that like psyched me out and like really threw me off with it is like there's stuff where it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna post your nude photos up if you don't wake up, and I was like, whoa,
what the fuck?
Okay, like beyond the scope of like what the nature of Powerpuff Girls was about. That's just kind of abusive in any context.
God.
Like, whoa.
It's like,
man, I did not read that script, so that...
Especially, like, when taking, like, a parody or joke of it itself, like, take it from me. I run a Twitch stream, have some good fun. There's some people who made some really funny parodies of myself. I have, what is this one I call it? Clay Likes the Demon Lord Furry. That one was pretty funny. It got so popular that someone made.
All right, that's
a name. Yeah, someone made a remastered version. It was my moderator, by the way. She actually made a remastered picture of that. And then I asked somebody. I jokingly didn't actually mean to say like, "Oh, here's this. Can you remake this?" As like, and then she just drew it like, "I smell a furry," and I'm like, "Oh my god." And then I actually joked to my moderator about, like, if I was a furry, this would be my persona. And then, like, she's like, yep, I'm going to draw this now. I'm like, fuck.
Wow, you just grabbed that shovel and started digging. Alright. Sure.
I guess I go to the second question.
Well, here's the thing. We didn't even answer...
The first one,
We answered half of the first question. We still have the other half.
This is us. We just keep dragging it on.
What are things you recommend for making... What is media you recommend when making stuff for the Outlaw Dive?
Go.
So, I'm very much in a niche of giant robot stuff, but I generally just watch, like, the very hot-blooded hype things in general. So what I can throw out there to the wind would be things like Gurren Lagann, Red Line, animated movie, because there's another one that's a live-action movie. They're both racing movies. So someone could get that confused.
Mm-hmm. I would throw in there that if you're looking for mecha specifically, a couple of sort of like midfield things that you're probably not going to hear of, but are definitely worth checking out. They're a little less common than the standard Gundam sort of stuff. Is definitely check out Gun X Sword. It's a wonderful show that does some really fun spins on the mecha genre. Yeah, Gun X Sword is really good. I'm also really partial to a couple of the other ones that I've enjoyed over the years. Like Gunbuster and Diebuster are amazing and definitely set a precedent for a lot of things that have followed.
Well,
really beautifully animated, really great animation in it.
So,
and yeah, like there's honestly like check out stuff that is a bit more obscure and even does different and strange kind of takes on stuff. Like Asura Cryan, I've always enjoyed. I've found it really fun. Kaiser SKL is as far removed from like standard Mazinger as it gets, but oh my god, it's fun. Like it's a fun show. It basically said, "Hey, can we do all of the controversial, silly, crazy stuff?" And they did.
They really did, yeah.
Yeah, there was
It was a wild thing watching that. But granted, like a lot of the examples of other examples I could throw in are just kind of like dumb, maybe things we call more childish ones. Tokusatsu stuff, like Power Rangers, Kamen Rider. Because for the people who are into it, the minute they hit that level of they get a new transformation, oh, it's on!
Oh yeah, totally. Or like when they introduced the special or 6th Ranger in the group, and then it's like, oh shit, they got like, they're just as powerful, if not more powerful than the base Rangers, and they got their own cool shit too. Like, here we go.
Everyone loves the Green Ranger.
Yeah.
Or the White Ranger. That's always a common 6th Ranger.
Yeah, it's usually...
Same for gold.
Yeah, it's usually either...
Gold and white's a common...
yeah, either green, white, or golden. That's usually, like, usual safe 6th Ranger color. That, or if, like, you want to be kind of special, you got, what is it? Silver. I think some of them were silver.
There was a silver one, yeah.
And,
Space
Rangers, I think. He was silver, yeah.
Yes, he was. Oh god, I remember. Right. Remember what it was? There was Mystic Force.
Yeah.
Which technically not a ranger, but he was like the Black Knight who would occasionally turn good and join the other
Didn't
side.
They have like freaking 3 special rangers in that show? I mean, they had one that was like
kinda, yeah.
It was like and one of them was I think the Red Ranger's dad. Like, I was like, holy shit.
Yes, that was the Black Knight.
Yeah. Spoilers for one of my
And then
comics.
there was the Red Ranger who was a special guy too.
Yeah, you know what was crazy
like,
too? Was with SPD was kind of crazy. Not for the Special Ranger stuff, but because more of the passing the torch one, because you had you had one guy that was the Green Ranger, then he was the Blue Ranger, and then he became the leader. Like, what the?
And then he became the Red Ranger.
Yeah, I was like,
through the various like Red Ranger crossover events.
I was like,
that was great.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I never seen that before. I'm like, they were able to take a concept and basically make a character. It's basically like, it's like, oh, let's do Voltron, but then like we'll do pass the torch kind of thing. Where
God, I love SPD.
Who was the Black Lion? Not Shiro, the other guy, not Lance. Keith.
Keith.
Yeah, Keith. So imagine if Keith was like, I don't know, he was the Green Lion, then the Red Lion, and then he goes in to be the Black Lion. You know, like, or no, could have been blue, red, and then black. But still, that was freaking nuts. You know.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing with Voltron is they didn't really have like.
They didn't really have a kind of like
rank system,
yeah.
Whereas SPD explicitly did. Every other Power Rangers also really didn't, other than Red Leader. But with SPD, you look at those Rangers, you're like, Red Ranger, he has a big 1 on his chest. Blue Ranger's got a big 2. Green Ranger's got a big 3. Yeah. You know who's in charge of who. And then you look at, I think he was called the Shadow Ranger, which is when the boss of the Space Patrol,
Space Doggy Boy,
becomes a Power Ranger.
And the other one,
he has a giant 100 on his chest plate.
Yeah,
and it's so cool.
Yeah, it's like a lot of if people bitch about the outfits for SPD, I'm like, fuck off. Those outfits were fucking awesome. Like I said, the series itself was fucking amazing, you know.
SPD was great.
Yeah, SPD, emergency. And I was like, bam.
Granted, it's been years since I've seen SPD.
I think like
it might just be nostalgia goggles right now.
I dare even say they had like next to like probably Dino Thunder, they had probably the most, at least like acrobatic transformation out of like. You felt like it was a bit of acrobatics and also a bit of power when they landed, you know?
I think SPD happened right after Dino Thunder, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But anyways,
But yeah, right. But yeah, no, you didn't throw in your 2 cents about media to help with like things that could help someone make something for the dive.
That's like, yeah, there's a lot of ones. Recently I've been getting back into and surprisingly, everyone has been, for some reason, everyone's been rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho a lot, and I was like, I'm like,
Huh.
yeah, I'm like, god damn, I was like, this is still just as good as I remember it, you know? And
I haven't actually gone through the entirety of Yu Yu Hakusho
you can watch
yet.
the entire show on YouTube, no lie. Like, some of them are a little lower.
Oh shit, what?
Yeah, You can, let's see. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, some of them are like Blu-ray quality, others are lower quality, but don't worry, it's still, they don't really change anything. It's still from Funimation, so there's no like censored stuff or all that other, you know, things you gotta worry about.
Yeah, but that's fucking wild that the whole thing.
I know, right? I was surprised. I
remember.
I didn't think they would have the whole show on YouTube. And you know,
Also,
I checked it from top to bottom. No, there's no DMCA takedowns, no nothing. They have the whole show from the first episode to the last episode, so you know.
That does remind me of like a thing.
I was
back
gonna
in
say,
alright.
something that jumps out at me in reference to the Yu Yu Hakusho stuff is that like the manga is truly stellar as well. Like I really enjoyed that on first and second read. And another one that sticks out from that time, with a couple of things that definitely didn't age as well, and in localization, I realized changed a lot from the original. Shaman King.
I heard
Shaman King was a lot of fun as well too, and I'm really looking forward to the new version.
There was the Netflix
any
one.
of
I had a friend sit me down and watch all of 4Kids Shaman King. That was a ride.
I always was curious about 4Kids Shaman King, but I was like, I genuinely did not know if it was like, oh, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Like,
It's interesting.
I always saw it subbed and read the manga, so I'm actually completely unfamiliar with the dub.
yeah.
I'm not sure what the difference is like between like the manga are, except for like the ending. Because with the ending, I know Zeke just wins, and they like give him the time to be ready to become Shaman King, whereas like Yo and all the others spending those few years training as hard as they can to go kick his ass again. Whereas in the anime, it's just like 2 episodes of they like go find like Gaia or whatever they called this. I just nicknamed it Gaia because that's basically what it was. But yeah, they do that. Yo gets his ass kicked, but it like rejects Zeke if I remember correctly, and so the Shaman King tournament for that year is made null, and it ends on the note of they'll get a letter of, hey guys, it's starting up again. Sorry, not a letter. They get like the shooting star sign of, hey, it's starting up again, because the last one was bullshit.
And they were like, all right, let's go. And I think that's how it ends.
Yeah, that's how it ends.
It might just be me. I always hate those kind of endings. I'm like, just show me the end all the way through, man. Like how Yu Yu Hakusho did it, you know?
Well, at the time they couldn't, because the manga wasn't done, I think.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, the manga's ending's pretty good.
At least with the 4Kids one, I think, the manga wasn't over.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of shows where that happened. Like Blue Exorcist, Full Metal Alchemist, which I've started watching that again recently.
Hellsing,
My girlfriend
Hellsing,
hasn't seen either of them.
Hellsing, I think, too, didn't have an anime.
Yes! Hellsing was also in that boat.
It's always weird, too, and I swear, like, when Full Metal...
Oh, right, and Soul Eater.
Yeah, the ones I heard the most regarding anime only or, like, anime mangas is that surprisingly a lot of people are kind of divided 50-50 whether they like Full Metal Alchemist anime only and Hellsing's, or it's like the manga anime, and I'm like, really? Like, I mean, Brotherhood and Ultimate are pretty good, like, you know, and they have like yeah. I honestly, if I had to say, Brotherhood definitely had a much better ending than what Full Metal Alchemist anime, because that was the most confusing fucking thing I ever like saw.
I wouldn't call it the most confusing, only because I watched End of Evangelion. That shit that shit took me 3 rewatches to understand.
Congratulations.
But I can say that, yeah, I think Brotherhood had the better ending. I do think 2003 has a ton of merits on its own that Brotherhood does not have at all. Like, I think the way they did the homunculus in 03,
tonally, the original FMA
better.
feels like it takes alchemy more seriously.
Yeah, well, it's like, I think, in terms of tones, I think the anime did better in terms of, like, because, like, well, for one thing, it's like between alchemy and all that, it's like with Brotherhood, it's more like OP hack shit just goes in over and over again. At least they treat the whole equivalent.
I mean, to be fair, by the point that... I mean, yeah, though, to be fair, like, with some of the shit they get into, like, with the fucking homunculus fights becoming very common now.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they kinda gotta make them stronger, they're just gonna get... all the time!
Yeah, because, like, I think in the anime, not the anime, manga, they actually spaced them out pretty well. So it's like, oh, okay, so, like, oh, it's been a while, let's have a fight. And Brotherhood was just like, yeah, they're gonna show up, like, soonish, kind of thing. Little breathing room, but yeah, they appear much quicker than they did in the other anime.
I love the fact that, like, Barry the Chopper goes from being, like, absolutely irredeemably awful in the original.
Yeah, and the Brotherhood, it was like, oh, okay. So
to being like,
we actually give a shit.
And then in Brotherhood, he's like a comedic relief character.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then, like, it reminds me, too, of Brotherhood, is that technically speaking with King Bradley, they technically nerfed him, but at the same time, they also gave him, like, an ability and such as, like, okay, he's still good. He's technically the weakest homunculus, but at the same time, if you like, really go into it, he never really got that hurt until around the very end of the anime, so it was like, holy shit, like, you know... He couldn't,
Would he be the weakest? I don't know. I honestly, I think it would have been Lust, considering...
Well, we gotta remember, like, in the anime, he was, Pride. In the anime manga, he was Wrath. Like, what was different is that, again, he didn't have the homunculus, healing, all that other stuff, but he could, like, see people's weak points and such with his ultimate eye. And like, I don't care what people say, he's superhuman, like, he's fucking dodging bullets and shit, like, it's nothing, and it's like, he's like 60 years old, so I'm like, you know, come on, man.
Yeah, there's a Philosopher's Stone just coursing through his veins. He should be superhuman.
Yeah, he does, like, if people keep forgetting, he technically has one soul inside his body, he's technically 2 souls, he's got his own, and then he's got somebody else's, you know? So...
He's got, like, he's got, like, Father's Shard of Wrath, or,
Yeah. He basically shares his wrath, like, anger kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the 2 souls thing just jogged my memory, and I was thinking, oh yeah, Tournament of 2 Souls. I'd just like to take an aside, and, like, we've got the High Midnight Tournament going on, so by the time this comes out, congratulations to those moving on to round 4.
Oh,
really
yes.
Excited, really psyched
I can't believe
to
it's
see
almost
what you guys
ending.
bring
Well,
in.
we're still, semifinals or so?
Well,
we are in round 3 right now. Round 3 is about to go on, and I would also like to give a shout out there to the Tournament of 2 Souls, which by the time this is edited and out, will probably be pretty close to concluding. So,
well,
Team
I
Frostbite,
can tell you
Team
when
Ethereal Emperors, congratulations, and you've done a lot of great work. However this plays out, really best of luck to both of you.
Well, I can tell you when this would come out, Reactor. It'll be like about should be on the 17th if everything goes according to plan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, let's see, next question we got. How have you all been doing? Both everyone on the podcast and in general.
Doing good. I got a new patron on the Patreon. If I can get about 5-10 more of those puppies, I'll I'll break my first Patreon goal, so go $100 a month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if once again, like if I do get that on the Patreon, I'll be able to $50 go to just game stuff, and the other 50 go to my comic stuff. What else? Oh yeah, I just got the sketch for Clayman issue 1, page 9. My boy Ivan's moving to line art, so that's good. I think that's it. And then like I'm putting my stuff on Newgrounds. People are starting to like that now.
Yeah, no, Newgrounds is a good place for people to migrate to. It keeps getting resurgences one after the other. It could take a while, but it keeps happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just needs a more lively community, if I'm being honest. Like, it's a good archival platform, for sure, but I don't have any incentive as an artist to move over there and use it, because it's fairly sedentary. There's not much potential for growth or building an audience there.
That's fair. It kind of did have to pass the torch eventually.
Like, I don't want to see it snuffed out, and I definitely want it to keep existing and doing its thing. I just feel like there's ways in which they could optimize it to make it a bit more appealing to creators in departments other than just posting stuff for like an archival link or a shareable link for something to have it hosted somewhere.
So, Reactor, how have you been doing there, buddy? Huh?
Oh, I've been busy as usual. I'm working on a bunch of stuff. Just had a couple of game dev and design things I went through. One of which was kind of a
I heard of
crap
that
show.
one. Yeah, I got so fucking mad.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, fuck those guys, man.
Yeah, so
Can't
long
fucking
story
believe that
short, I have a client that owes me $850 USD for an entire roster of fighting game characters that I designed for them, and they decided not to pay me for, which is a bit of a drag. I had another gig that I volunteered on that was a little bit challenging, but honestly, in the way it's shaken down, I'm not as frustrated about as when it was going on. Like at the time,
are they actually
it
going
was
to pay you
kind of
this time,
aggravating.
or is it
but
like like you said, a volunteer thing?
the volunteer one, like it was strictly a volunteer thing from the get-go. My issue wasn't the fact that it was an unpaid thing; it was the circumstances surrounding just the dynamics on the team. With it being a volunteer thing, but I don't really want to gossip on that part. I feel like the situation's kind of resolved itself, whereas like the $850 one is it's like I'm gonna be selling off a sort of debadge version of all the designs. So if anyone's interested in buying one or an entire roster of fighting game styled characters styled after like Marvel vs. Capcom
still bullshit.
style stuff,
at that point, I just get a GoFundMe and then
up.
put $850. Be like, here, give this guy some money, because he got fucked over by the.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I know that.
Like
Just
that
like
on my behalf. I
it's
believe
just
in
like you
working
got
for my
fucking
dollars,
screwed
but,
over,
like,
man.
Yeah, but, at the same time, what can you do, right? You make the best of the situations you're presented, and I feel like, honestly, there will be some satisfaction if the designs go to projects or creators that are going to use them, because in the case that happens, that means that those designs will now be in someone else's hands, along with the usage rights. So the people who felt like they could not pay me after doing them are now going to have to compete with those designs that I made being used by people who are potentially also doing their own fighting games and their own projects. It would be visible and in that niche, so they can't just rip me off and do a version of the same designs again, because someone else will own them. It'll be someone else's commercial rights.
Speaking of fighting games, we have to talk about Russ.
Oh God, you're right.
I was about to say in the
in
beginning,
the news bit.
Yeah. Here we go. You go.
Oh. All right. So our boy Deputy Rust, man who has created this space for us and the YouTube channel that this podcast goes on. He has gotten in contact with a real ass fighting game studio called Arc Forged, and the both of them are working on a UIR fighting game. Right now, they're just getting the prototype up. There's an Indiegogo out there that you can throw money at to help get the prototype funded. That's about where that is right now. I'll admit I should have looked at the Indiegogo for the tiers to help shill the man's project,
I'm on my
but
phone
I
right
completely
now. I can
forgot to do that.
Yeah, I can talk about the tiers. Hold on. Well, right now, it's like, we still got 33 days on it. Almost 60 backers and almost $3,000, 37% the $7,000 goal. Let's see. So for the base tier, you get access to the build, and deluxe tier, same thing, but you get like a PDF of UIR Volume 1. That's cool. That's cool. Everyone has begun the deputized tier, which is $75. You get all that, but then you're able to get a palette creation, and
yeah, you make like a palette for them for like the characters in the game. At least I believe that's how that's supposed to.
Yeah, you put in the name, and then you give them like.
Don't take my word for this. I have not talked to the man about him and the Indiegogo.
He did make an update
I just edit the man's comic fighting game thing. It's kind of out of my jurisdiction.
Yeah, he made an update about it. Like if people put their pledge in for the Indiegogo, they'll be able to see it and then like be able to understand how the palette creation perk will work. So go support him.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I have to say, in the same way as I've been talking about, the stuff people are making for their entries and stuff for HMT and TO2S and all this stuff, massive props to Rust. I've been a friend of his for close to a decade now, and it's honestly really surreal having seen this project go from like its first draft stages to having this level of response and following. So seriously, congratulations, Zach. Really, really awesome to see your project reaching these levels, and it's really inspiring, I think, for up-and-coming creators. I know that for my students, I show them your work all the time and talk about, the potential and the dedication that's involved in getting to that stage of doing it. But, just the inspirational value of that it is possible and that it is something that people can really, make happen and do with the right application of effort and creativity. So, seriously, amazing stuff.
For me, it's like, I've been looking at deputy stuff since he did part 3 of his series, so it's been great. I also, if anyone asks, at least my part of the fan base, if they're asking, no, I do not know if Russ is going to put Clayman in this game. It's a prototype. You guys have to be patient. I made a joke about that, but
currently,
I don't want to. Do that.
Currently, all the prototype is going to have is Ben. And Toma.
Yeah. If there's more,
that's going to be the proof of concept.
Yeah, if there's more money put into it, as I'm looking at the Indiegogo, it's if they get all the money, Hayes, Barry, Frankie, Cherry, and Araya will be added. If they get up to $30,000 of their goal on here.
Oh damn! Yeah. All right.
But like I said, they said I know we talked about DLC fighters. But, again, if we're talking about Clay, make it clear, he's a guest fighter. So I wouldn't count that as, DLC fighter and guest fighter, completely different, things,
Yeah.
Alright, Solid Snake.
I hate to interject again here, but we got kind of partway into talking about me getting screwed over, but I didn't actually talk about any of that stuff I'm actually excited about.
Well, yeah, you can
sorry.
You go back to talk about that.
You can go back to your week. Sorry, man.
I just wanted to talk about the game for a second.
Mechanomaki, which is my comic series, is underway. I've been doing a lot of work on that, as well as an entry that ties into it for the Splinter City OCT.
I'm going to be in that, too.
I've actually got my own OCT that I'm putting together with some good friends of mine. So me and my buddy Alm Cornkid, who's one of the 2 teams as finalists in the TO2S, are heading up a new OCT that we've been developing that'll drop on New Year's of 2022.
Oh, shit!
But the openings for applications will start before that. And we've got some other cool folks who are involved on the periphery of it. I don't want to speak for them just yet because I know they're still going over the stuff, but I'm very excited to have them involved, and stay tuned for further announcements. So the Excalibur Experiment OCT, credit to Alex for the name on that one, is going to be dropping January 1st, 2022. And you can already be seeing some stuff on the hashtag. You're posting about it with the hashtag EXEXOCT.
And I was going to say, yes, I'll also be in the Splinter City OCT with my original comic book character, Pride, and also with my friend Blitz, who will be playing his original character in Red Crucible. It's going to be like a tag team thing for the two of us. And as far as I know, I'll mostly be the writer, script guy, and he'll be mostly drawing, coloring everything. But you know.
Ah, wonderful! You found your art goblin.
Yeah, it was like because last time I tried to enter the tournament, Two Souls, me and my friend Jester realized, fuck, we couldn't get in because we don't have the money to hire an artist. So
neither of you are artists. I remember him telling me about that.
Yeah, it was like. And then everyone felt so bad for us, and I'm like, look, it's not your guys' fault. We just fucked up because we were fucking stupid, and we weren't made of money, you know?
Yeah, it's a rough thing that writers can't really get in that much unless they like have an artist buddy. But
I know. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm a comic guy, so like when I work with somebody like that, I'm like, I want to pay them, and I can't, or at least like in that scenario, I mean. Or at least, like, I feel bad, and I feel like I can't work with you because I'm not paying you. You know? Because I've been raised, at least, like, as being, like, witness to it all, I've been kind of raised to be like, look, I don't want to screw people over. I kind of don't like freebie arts, but I can't stop people from doing that. If they want to do that, that's their thing. Heck, I worked with a guy, and we did a free comic with, my boy Nicholas, you know, Demon Hunter Raven and all that. But, like, you know, again, I just like to be respectful and be like, look, I'll pay you, you know? If not, it is what it is, you know, that's their business. I can't stop them from doing that.
Yeah.
I think that it's a balance, right? Like, there's some level of, you know, collaborative work and stuff like that, where if it's mutually beneficial, I can see artists working with writers pretty well. I think just the big thing I'd say as far as like the landscape of comic stuff goes is that there's definitely an overrepresentation of writers seeking artists as opposed to artists seeking writers, which can make partnerships more difficult. So it's really good to hear that you've got somebody lined up, because I know that it can be really frustrating for people who have a really good, solid idea in mind. They've been planning it for a while and they know what they want to do, but just the process of getting it illustrated in a timely or cost-effective fashion can just be kind of the death knell for some projects.
Yeah, that ends up being why a lot of comic people are just they are their own writer and their artist, and then every once in a while you'll see someone who's just their writer shoot up from the fucking ashes like fucking Merryweather.
Oh yeah, they're like there's guys like me that just kind of like write and concept stuff, and they got other people that like somehow can do everything. They write, they draw, they color, they letter their stuff. They literally do a one-man army type thing with their comics. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Like, it's cool to know that you've been working with so many cool folks in the community, though, Clay. Like, I know you're working with my friend Cardman recently on some stuff.
Yeah,
he was really excited about that gig, so.
He made a sticker for the Clayman Second Chance Kickstarter, and I'm working with my friend Art Abomination, like for trading cards and bookmarks for the comic, and I think that's it. But we got some other, and also I worked with my friend Toasty Ghosty, and yeah.
Oh yeah, we know Toasty.
Mary for the variety, the variant covers for Clayman's one shot and crossover. I'm waiting on my boy Dan to put in the logo and the other stuff in.
God damn, man, you're just getting so many people to work with.
I know.
Holy
I was
shit.
like, yeah, it's like it just happens when you just mark it for 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Also, I finally hit 1,000 follows on Twitter. Thank you, everybody.
Congrats, man. That's great that you were able to get the 1,000.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going to say it's exciting because aiming to have at least 12 chapters of Mechanimaki set to go here. I'm teaching some classes on production and art and stuff. I've had a really good year, honestly, in terms of teaching and developing my body of work in that stuff for visual arts. I've got my full multidisciplinary art certification from a top 12 university now, so people now have to take me seriously. There's a piece of paper.
Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Yeah, like, it's nice. It really feels nice to have it out of the way and, like, just fully wrapped up. Like, you know, getting your certification, like a proper university certification, is just, it's nice to have.
God, it is weird to realize you're younger than Rust and you have all this.
Yeah, I mean, for context's sake, I also started working, like, I think considerably earlier too. Like, I was a child actor of sorts at a pretty young age, and I developed just kind of a multidisciplinary arts career as an extension of just sort of the family business I was in. But I think that it's important to note that, like, I don't think age is necessarily a barrier to success or a guarantee of success either. Like, there's people who I work with in the field of arts who didn't get into art until they were retired, and now they're, you know, professional painters and stuff like that. Like, a very nice gentleman that I had the pleasure of working with as part of my job over the last year was a former NHLer named Richard Brodeur, and he was a big, tough hockey guy back in the day. Professional NHL player, like, really successful dude. But what was cool was now he does these paintings that are based around his childhood, his career in hockey, a bunch of different, very important and prescient moments from his own life there. And what's been really interesting is him talking about the fact that, you know, like, he had some interest in visual works before going into it, but it wasn't something he'd pursued. And so coming off of hockey and this career as being, like, a big, like, defender type, you know, like, aggressive player with, like, the big presence on the field, for him to speak very, you know, reflectively and calmly and thoughtfully about all of this stuff when I spoke to him was really amazing, because he was talking to me about, like, you know, oh yeah, like, not as, like, a dude to another dude, but, like, as an artist talking to another artist, like, oh, what do you do? What do you like to paint? What's your work look like? And it was just this really surreal experience of, like, oh, cool, here's this former NHL guy, and he's like, yeah, so what do you paint? And I'm like, watercolors of giant steampunk things? And he was like, yeah, that's really cool. That's really neat.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
It's like,
so,
oh,
it
my
was
God,
neat
that
because,
reminds me. It's like, if we're talking...
I can't imagine how fucking wacky that must be.
Yeah, I think, like, my favorite, if we're talking celebrities or cool dudes that, like, saw our work, guess who saw Clayman? Like, just guess. I'll give you one. I'll give you one shot. It's okay, but just guess.
Sean Stamos.
No. Not the other one. What do you think?
Are they related to comic work?
No.
Okay.
That was your one hint. That was your one hint.
No, I got nothing.
Okay. It was Johnny on Botch. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Huh.
It was I was talking about him about that, and he was like, "Oh, I love this art," you know, and it was like, "Oh, great," you know. I think I wanted to show him something else about, like, I think I wanted to show him like my kind of character for Pony Wars, but, like, I want this guy, you to voice him, and I almost said it to him, but I was too nervous to it, because it's just like, I see his character, I'm like, oh, Johnny could totally voice him, but I didn't actually show him the picture.
So not to like try and cut in too much,
That's fine,
but we are still kind of short on the time, and we have, like, a question and a third left to answer.
Okay.
The third being, I never said my week. I started showing my girlfriend Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes.
Mentioned that before. she like saw fragments of it, never really finished the show. So going through that with her. Been playing a lot of a game called Risk of Rain 2.
It's a good game.
It's a
good
roguelike
game.
thing. Fucking, it's probably gonna be the first game I'm gonna platinum. Cause oh goddamn, every achievement gets you an actual thing unlocked in the game. And it's like just drugs in my veins.
Yeah, kind of like Team Fortress. It's kind of like Team Fortress 2, but it's more like the milestone achievements. You get an item, not like Risk of Rain 2.
Yeah. And I have started work for a very special project for the dive.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, okay. You do your thing. I was gonna say something too, but do your thing first.
I'm already done. My week was very short.
Oh, okay. What was it? If people, I'm trying to remember. My boy Nicholas, again, who does Demon Hunter Raven, apparently is doing a kind of anthology or comic book series. He's kind of doing, and even his own company, BMR Comics. And in hindsight, it's kind of weird how it works, but apparently Clayman will be part of like his series Divine Anomaly. But like I said, more of a anthology series of sorts where it has Raven, or at least involves his world, but involves like Clay in that as well. So, and then like part 2 of our crossover will be on his Patreon, my Patreon. If you guys want to see it, it will come out like probably like most of it will come out for, I think I'll do like a page by page type thing. So like you'll be able to see for $5 patrons, $5 to $20 patrons, you'll be able to see it first. $2 patrons, you'll be able to see it the day after. So like it'll try to be even Steven kind of thing. But other than that, we're definitely doing more projects. I'm definitely doing more projects with Nicholas, and as far as I know too, if people do want to get a physical copy of that later in the future, Nicholas will be doing a kind of Kickstarter with that, and I will be, nice guy that he is, we're basically almost doing kind of a 50-50 share of the profits, whichever how much it goes in. Again, you guys have to check his work. You get hyped for that shit, Raven is a really good character, and Clay and Raven working together has always been, two pairs of a pair, So go please see that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, real quick to get out of the way, the last question.
Yeah.
Any updates on Rust's plans for Maximum Spider-Man / Maximum Marvel? Currently, no. It's on the back burner as he's working on a lot of other projects, like the game, UIR in general. Currently, there is still the High Midnight Tournament OCT that is being run, as well as working on the site, getting that to be fully up, because what's up right now is just kind of like
basic
prototype thing still. So yeah, that's all the questions. And remember there, kiddos, you want to send in anything? It's outlawdive@gmail.com.
Yep, send those questions, baby.
Have a good one.
Because we'll fucking answer them. It took us a while to get through the 3 we were sent, but we got through them!
God damn it.
And, with that, see y'all, everyone. It's a bad time we agreed on we'd be ending for the day in the first place. Yep. So, hope y'all had a good hour and a half just listening to us fucking ramble about shit.
And also showing our stuff.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Oh, right, yeah, no, I almost forgot. Sorry, yes, plug your shit.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. Like, everyone can see it on my, I got a Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, Coffee, PayPal. Usually most of it comes with my name, Claylix, or RobertJoe321, that's my PayPal. And usually most proceeds go to my comics. If you do want to donate onto my Twitch or any of that, or want to help out, get me better equipment for that. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, most of my stuff just goes to my comic books content.
Yeah, then.
And then I'm just in unstable reactor with a 0 in place of the O on Twitter, and there will be a link tree up there somewhere with links to all the other stuff.
Could find me on Twitter at SirDelta00. Don't expect anything.
It's dead.
I never fucking. Yeah, might as well be. I don't really post there at all. I barely scroll Twitter now. Really, if you want to just help out, just keep watching the podcast. Because that's really what I'm doing nowadays for Rust, besides being his editor. Well, yeah. Hope you all had fun with this. See you next time, everyone.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Well, goodbye.
Bye. Have a wonderful time.